Yes, y'all. Welcome in to episode 61 of the Dumb Marks podcast, your favorite Saturday brunch bunch. The best four-man booth in the business is back at it again on this beautiful sunny Saturday morning. 60 degrees in the Berg today, man. This Pittsburgh weather, boy.
It's not 60 yet.
Sure knows how to fluctuate, man.
I was just outside about an hour ago, and it was in the 20s.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's 28 degrees whenever I left for work yesterday. I'm just waking up. I got up about a half hour ago, so I think that's the first time I slept past 10 o'clock since my daughter was born 11 years ago.
What'd you do last night?
Nothing, man. The body just said, "Yo, you need sleep. Like it's not time to get up yet. You gotta get this sleep in." Long week. Got a big exam on Monday, so I've been hitting the books hard and just had to sleep. Wasn't time to get up yet, but I'm here. I'm ready to pod. See all you guys. Nobody enacted a Lesnar day. That's good. So we're back to a full crew today. So yeah, what's up? How's everybody doing? Everybody good?
Good.
Yeah.
Long week for me too. I was in Orlando last week for work, and then this week family went out of town, so just been busy at work because of that. So
Nice.
I caught that new Legends of the Hidden Temples for the adults. Oh man, that shit is trash.
I forgot it was on.
Yeah.
That shit is trash, man.
Garbage for real.
It's not good at all. Mm-hmm. The only part I liked about it, whenever Olmec was going through the rooms in the temple, and they did a Shrine of the Silver Monkey, and he was like, "Can somebody put this damn monkey together for a change?"
Well, they rigged the kids game so that they couldn't complete it because the show was on such a budget that they couldn't afford to give away the prizes. So if you look back at all the kids episodes, there was only like 3, maybe 4 teams that actually put the monkey together and won because of how tight the budget was. So they rigged the game back in the day for the kids, made it more difficult.
Yeah, I think they said a total of 15 teams won total out of that whole kids run. That's
terrible. Terrible. All right. So are we starting off the podcast with a swerve today, brother? We getting in. I saw Chris, you were interested in a little story time this week. Posted a little question out there on social media for the Dumb Mark listeners to chime in and give us their worst dates. What was it? The worst first dates or just worst date period?
Worst date period. You know, if it was first date period, talk about if it was any date, And one of the things I said was, all I want to hear is a story where someone had the worst first date possible, but yet it ended with, and we've been married for 10 years. That's what I was hoping for. I did not get that.
No, as I say, most really bad first dates, like that's a Hallmark movie script right there. That doesn't turn into real life. If the first date's trash, you're probably not getting a second.
Yeah, this is true. So I'll just share a couple of them. One person posted about 22 years ago, a coworker that we're just going to call Ralph, asked me out by bringing a dozen peach roses to work in front of everybody. Of course, I had to accept. We made plans, got a phone call before asking if I could pick him up. I had no idea he didn't drive. So upon my arrival, he presented a red rose. They went to dinner. Ralph informed her that have whatever you want on the menu. She goes, I planned on it. But where she ordered a drink, she goes, he asked that the check be split because he only counted on paying for the meal, not for the drinks. They went to dinner at just a regular casual restaurant, nothing too expensive. Later on, he showed pics of his kids that he's not allowed to see. So then they had plans to go to a movie afterwards, and whenever they went to like a local place that isn't like kind of like one of the budget theaters. But he was like talking about like how he got them VIP tickets for the theater. So they go in their reclining seats, and he puts his hand on her leg, which she completely grabs by the wrist and throw it back at him. And she said that I told him that everything at this point had just annoyed her. She was ready to go home. So all she did was she paid for the VIP tickets and took them in the car, took them home, and then she dropped them off. So a few days later, I guess he worked with her and he ended up going to her house again, even after the whole date was bad, and goes into her. I guess he had been drinking the night before. He goes to her bathroom and pukes all over the place, which is why he's called Ralph in the story. So needless to say, even though she worked with him, that was it. There weren't any more dates.
So this dude,
stalker vibes.
not so much stalker vibes, but this dude, he pretty much coerced the first date because he showed up to work with a dozen peach roses. And first off, who goes with peach? Like, if you're going to go with flowers, like, peach is an off.
So, yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure he was up online researching what color of roses is to ask people out on a first date.
Maybe the roses were peach in his neighbor's yard and he just started clipping them.
So he shows up.
You won't show up with red roses? That's too serious.
Yeah, that's
you don't show up to work at all with roses to ask out on the first date.
Don't shit on peach.
No, I'm not sure.
Oh, no.
With no roses, no flowers at all.
Color, beautiful flavor.
No, listen.
No flowers at all.
That's the wrong. First off, that's the wrong way to go about it. All right. Second off, he doesn't drive. This sounds like a Jason move. Like, he peach roses, doesn't drive, split the check. Not intended on paying for drinks. This guy. Are you sure this ain't Jason?
It's my MO.
Damn, kind of deep already this morning.
I had to get a jab in on him early. You know what I mean? Like, I had to set him up because I plan on knocking him out later on in following segments of this show.
I wonder at the movies, like when he tried to put his hand on her leg, why didn't she just get up and leave? He couldn't drive, so you drove to the theater. You was annoyed by that time. Just get him.
Yeah.
And she bought him movie tickets too.
Nah.
He paid for them, but she ended up giving him the money at the end of the date.
And then, like, the randomness of, so that was the end of the date, and then a couple weeks later, he ends up at her house and pukes in her bathroom. Like,
yeah,
why would you even let him in the place? There's a lot of
something.
There's a lot of fault on both sides of that story there.
All right, we got one more here that I'll read off. So this one says her favorite is a guy asked me out to a steakhouse, which she says steak is her love language. Anyway, he comes to pick me up in baggy jeans with holes in them, a stained oversized white shirt, and asks if that she can drive. Red flag. So there's two stories in a row where the guy asked them to drive. So those are the red flags there to start.
Y'all got to get your license, man. Like, you can't be out there representing the guys without license.
Don't have bus passes, I guess that works. But she goes, I said sure, even though I was confused. We get to the steakhouse, get our table, order drinks and a nap. We aren't talking much. I feel like he was a completely different person. Red flag. But I wanted to be nice and make the most out of it. So we ordered our meals, and when I get them, he goes, I don't have my wallet. Red flag. Okay, I honestly don't mind splitting a bill on the first date, but definitely don't want to pay the whole tab. So I end up paying for everything. As we're driving back to her house, she asked why he wanted her to drive. He said, I didn't have enough gas money. So she goes, red flag. He then tells me he doesn't have any money and he didn't forget his wallet. He just couldn't pay for anything. Red flag. So instead of rescheduling our date, he decided to be a scrub. And she never asked for a second. And he had the nerve to ask for a second date. She goes, I'll always wonder what happened to him.
I had nothing to say.
And again,
I don't know. Like maybe I was, you know, we're all about the same age. I don't know what you guys were told or taught growing up, but like it was always, hey, if you're going out, you're to the first date, like you're gonna pay, right? Like it wasn't never, you know, let the girl pay in that. But I guess it's old school thinking, right? Where nowadays it's like, all right, well, maybe we'll split. I'll pay for my stuff, you pay for your stuff, whatever. I don't know. I haven't been out on a date. Like I've been on a date with my wife, but I mean, we've been married for 10 years. You know what I mean? So like that's different. Like I don't know nowadays, you know, if it's more like 50-50, people split, whatever. But like as the gentleman in a situation, like I think you would want to pay for the date. Like I had a buddy of mine, his son went out on a first date. I saw he posted about it online, but like, and first off, dating now is expensive. Like the money that he ran off on this first date, I'm like, yo, we might just be going and grabbing like coffee and a bagel because I'm not dropping $200 on a first date, you know, as a teenager. But that's crazy that y'all are out there fronting like, yo, I need you to drive. I don't have a car. I don't have gas money. Actually, I don't have no money at all. Like, what are y'all doing out here?
Yeah. Especially if you're the one who approached them. Like, have your cards lined up.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me. Hey, the confidence level is on a high. If you know you're broke as shit and you're still going out there,
Playa.
getting first dates and everything else, like, all right. And you know, the baggy jeans with the holes in them, depending, you know, this was however many years ago that might have been in style. I'm not gonna,
that wasn't style. I'm
not gonna fault him for the jeans, but the stained white tee, like, yeah, you gotta come up better than that, man. Like, that's terrible. That's terrible. Jay, you've been
sure
silent.
There's even worse stories out there. I appreciate the people that chimed in with these stories, but I can only imagine some people that didn't chime in with their worst ones.
Jay, you've been silent. You don't got nothing to say during this segment here with the stories?
Not really. I mean, you're reading off people's dates.
Have you had a bad first date experience?
First date? No, I've had a bad experience.
I've had a bad experience. It's so much a first date, but you guys ever had to take the walk of shame?
No.
Did not know it was the walk of shame?
No.
All right, I'm gonna put myself on blast right now. So this was I don't even want to say how long ago this was, but this was a really long time ago, right? Friends of mine were getting married, so wedding day, right? Getting ready to celebrate. Everybody's dressed up good. We're at the wedding. And, you know, you're single going to a wedding. You're thinking, okay, there may be possibilities here. You know, scoping around, seeing out who's who, what's what, this and that. Anything one leads to another. And, hey, got the hook up at the wedding, right? As a single dude, felt like mission accomplished, right? Next morning, get up, look around, realize what happened. Okay, you know, had a few too many drinks the night before, but whatever, it worked out. We both had fun.
Was there cab fare on the nightstand?
Was there what?
Was there cab fare on the nightstand waiting for you?
No cab fare. No cab fare, right? So get up, get dressed, you know, brush my teeth and everything, whatnot. And she's like, I'm gonna hop in the shower. And that, you know, I got some stuff to do with my mom and whatnot after, you know, the wedding and this and that. I was like, cool, no problem. Like, you know, you have a good time? Yeah. Did you have a good time? Yeah, it's great. Okay, good. All right. She's like, well, you know, I'll give you a call, hit you up. Okay, cool. So like, get all my stuff, walking out, waiting for the elevator to come. Elevator comes. I get in the elevator, I press the lobby floor, and as the elevator starts to go down, I'm like, it hits me. And I'm like, wait a second. She didn't ask for my number. She don't know my number. Like, how's she gonna call me? Did she really just like kind of rush me out the room? Like, because it's kind of a fast conversation. I got used. And I had to take the walk of shame. Like, I got off the elevator and the head was down, and like there was a bunch of people eating at the continental breakfast, you know what I mean? And they all like looked up because when we had a wedding with a group of people, you know what I mean? Like, they know what goes on without saying what goes on, right?
Yeah.
So like I get off and my head's down. I'm kind of like, wow, like I can't believe this is happening. Like
You were at a hotel?
yeah.
I thought you were staying?
No.
You were leaving with a number? You
Like,
went to a hotel, red flag number one.
no, that was where the hotel was where the reception was at. Like everybody was there. You know what I mean? So like they had a block of rooms on 2 floors. Like everybody stayed. You know what I mean? But so get off, you know, and people were sitting there eating at the continental breakfast. Well, and you know what I mean? Like people's heads poke up and they look and it's just like I just gave like the reaction like I'm taking the walk of shame right now. This is embarrassing. Like I didn't even go eat. I just went and sat in the car and waited because I rode with a buddy, so I'm waiting for him to finish up eating breakfast. And he gets in the car. And no, I didn't drive. But it wasn't. Me and him weren't on a date. You know what I mean? Like, bro, with a boy to the wedding.
Nah, you walk out
man,
you walk out that elevator head high, boy. You be like, yeah, I hit, so what?
No, dog. It completely threw me off. I was like, it was. Then I started questioning other things. Like, wait a second, was like I know I was a little drunk last night, but like, was I trash? Like, am I trash? Like, is it gonna get around that I'm trash? Like that my game, that my game's not that strong. Like, what's gonna happen here? Like, you know what I mean? Needless to say, never saw her again. No hit ups on Facebook. No nothing. It's just like, wow. I got like the roles. She completely ninja'd me, and the roles got flipped real quick.
I got a question, and this is because of my cheap ass. Did you have a room at the hotel that you didn't use?
No. It was my room.
Oh, okay.
So it was my room.
You out of your room.
She kicked you out of your room.
Must be out of my room.
Wow. Damn.
Yeah.
Your room. She rushes you out. She need a place to stay.
So I mean, chalked it up as a learning experience. You know, never wanted to, like, yeah.
Nah, you keep your head high. You come out that elevator like Vinnie Mac, boy.
No, I couldn't like
in that head, like, man, yeah, you know.
I was hungover. It was still kind of waking up a little bit. The fog from the drinks the night before was still. It was just like all these things were slowly unraveling before my own eyes, and it was like, wow.
Head. You eat that continental breakfast at the head of the table.
So whenever you checked out of the room, was there any expenses on there that she charged the room?
No, nothing like that. No. I think there may have been a movie purchased or two, depending on what movie selection you think goes on at that time of night at a hotel. But it was, yeah. But other than that, no.
Right.
So,
yeah, kicked you out of your own room.
Oh, funny.
All right. Anybody got anything else that's embarrassing and want to throw themselves out there? I mean, I'll step in front of the bus for the show. It's all right. Don't worry. It's cool. All right.
Nothing like that, no.
All right. Do we have anything for Smash or Trash?
Got a couple. Not a whole lot this week.
We'll touch on the usual stuff in the intro on final thoughts if anybody got anything. Because I got a couple quick hitters for TV and movies that I can rattle off real quick. But
okay. Screamin' Sicilian Pizza. They're coming out with a new dessert pizza line. They got a s'mores pizza and it looks like a cookie brownie pizza.
Trash.
Smash. Anytime you give me like, ice cream pizza or whatever, like the Hershey ice cream cakes and whatnot, like, yeah, I'm smashing all those.
International Delight is coming out with a Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory fudgy caramel coffee creamer.
Smash. Just as long as it doesn't turn me blue after I drink it, smash.
And this one, I'm excited for, but we'll see how it turns out. We all grew up with Ecto Cooler. A couple years ago, it came back for the Ghostbusters movie. Well, there's Ghostbusters Afterlife about to come out. It's coming back, but it's going to be in limited supply. Right now, it looks like it might just be in theaters, just to go along with the movie. Doesn't look like it might not hit retail shelves yet, but we'll see if that changes or not. But hopefully it does. I'd like to get my hands on some Ecto Cooler again.
Smash.
Yes, a smash.
Yeah. That's all I got this week.
You didn't add in the cinnamon vanilla milkshake from Arby's that I sent over?
I forgot about that one.
You said Arby's. It's trash.
Arby's shakes, man, are the best shakes out.
We come with anything from Arby's, I'm saying trash.
We might gotta do like just in rounds. Just do milkshake. Try those. Then the food. Then the chicken. Get you acclimated to Arby's.
Oh, trash.
All right. Is that it? That it for Smash or Trash?
That's all I got. Anybody else got anything?
Nope.
All right, let's get into the bells and whistles of what is Bell to Bell. All right, this week in the world of wrestling was a very interesting week, especially the last couple days here. And as you can see, I have the BC initials there for budget cuts. So
that was the big story of the week.
That was the big story of the week. Over 18, I think 18 talents were released on Thursday from WWE after their quarterly conference call, where they announced a 15% increase in profits over the past quarter. They released 18 talents. There were some backstage people as well as people that work in the Stanford offices that also got released. Prior to the releases on Thursday, I believe Tuesday, there was a story that came out that one senior executive, I think it was a senior executive of creative entertainment. Not sure what that role does, but he stepped down after 15 years of working with WWE. He resigned and said that the place that he started at and worked at for the last 15 years is not the same place. So he gave his resignation and left. So yeah, all in all, 18 people. WWE alone in this year, just this year of 2021, has released over 70 talent.
A lot of talent.
Just wrestlers alone.
But that tells you how bloated their roster was as well. I know this week was a lot of NXT talent that was released, but
a lot of NXT talent. But then the names from main roster that did get cut were I don't want to say shocking, but they were definitely head scratchers and kind of a question as to why WWE can't develop the people that they let go, especially this round of cuts. So I kind of want to get into your thoughts overall on the releases. Which ones stick out to you, and just trying to figure out or understand like where they're going. What are they trying to accomplish? Because yeah, Chris, like you said, the roster, especially NXT wise, they were just signing up everybody, and now that they're moving away from that quote unquote indie talent, and want to hire, certain people from certain fields. Just try to get an idea on where you guys think they're going conceptually, whether or not you think it'll work, and is there any type of red flag you see for them based off of what they're going with right now? Because I'm gonna tell you right now, the first thing that I see based off of all this is that they don't care about the optics at all. They're truly operating as a Fortune 100, 500 company, whatever type of company they are. And it's strictly black or red. And it's all about money. So as long as they get on the call and they tout a 15% profit increase, they don't care how they look like in the public's eye based off of all these cuts.
I agree with
Yeah,
that.
I definitely
100%
agree. Yeah. When it's all about big business, it's all about the bottom line. It is.
I listened in on that conference call the other day, which I try to get on each quarterly call. I don't understand the direction of this company at all. Like, at all. Like, I'm not a big fan of some of the moves that they're making, internally and on TV. And I really think that this is the company's being set up for something within the next 5 years. And this is just me guessing. Like, Nick Khan has so much power in that company now. Like, it used
How?
to be, Vince
How did
McMahon
he
used
come?
to,
How did he come in and get the stroke that he got? To
I don't know.
use a wrestling term, like what? Because like you look at the flood of releases and change of direction and everything else, and it's really been since the start of the pandemic, right? Yes, they've released people year after year, and some of them are head scratchers and that. But as far as like the mass exodus of releasing talent, that started at around the pandemic time, right? Right after WrestleMania, whenever the Good Brothers and that whole big first wave got let go, right?
Yeah. So a year and a half now.
Yeah, a year and a half now, and you've if you tally everybody, it's probably close to 150 people. Just on-screen talent-wise.
Yeah.
And not everybody was on screen. There was a lot of people that were stuck in developmental that had been on there for a while in NXT and just didn't catch on or weren't used or whatever the case may be. But we've had bigger names too that we didn't think would get released in every single cut that they've done, but yet here they are getting released.
Yeah.
So I just don't understand how he came in and got the stroke that he got, and what's the vision there to where it was like, hey, this is what we're doing, this is how we're going to do it. Like you said, Chris, I feel like there's something, whether it's a sell to somebody, if NBC, Universal, if they buy, whatever the case may be, like I have no clue. I can't even think of anything right now.
There's only one man that can give up that power, and we all know who that is. And he has willingly given up this power to this man for whatever reason. And whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, I mean, it's not going well, because if he's giving up all this power at headquarters, he should be focusing more on the TV product, and that sure shit isn't any better than what it's been the past few years. So it's like, it's just business as usual. I do believe Nick Khan was brought in to position the company for a sell, because the people that were running the company before underneath Vince, other than Stephanie and Triple H, the two co-presidents at the time, they had been there for years, and at one point they left last year because they just didn't see eye to eye with Vince anymore, and it let them all go. So you had two people that had been there for well over a decade, if not more, who just finally, they just don't see eye to eye with him. I don't know whether that was they expected to get higher in the company or get on the board or whatever, but this guy comes in, he's positioning things in a different way, and I think it is for sale. I mean, within 5 years, Vince is going to be 80. Who knows if that means anything? He could do this until 100 or more, but I don't know. I just keep looking at this, and the whole thing this week after the call, especially, and people talking about stuff. I just see WWE becoming WCW. Just they're going to get bought out by a big corporation, and that's going to be a horrible decision. That but that's because they're a publicly traded company. They can be in that position to get bought out, and I just think that at some point when they get bought out, people are going to get put in control that shouldn't be there. Just like what happened in WCW. Numerous times. It wasn't just once. It was numerous times in WCW. And, I don't know if WWE will ever not be around, but it's just going to be a whole different company in the future.
But and on top of that, like when you're releasing everybody, and every single round of releases, you're touting budget cuts in the emails that you're sending. When
it's not budget cuts.
No, it's not. So like, can we stop with the BS
line.
with the budget cuts? Like,
It's just their copy and paste email format.
Right. So like
yeah,
I mean, Jay, you're the
increase.
Jay, let me throw this out to you because you're the one that's the flag bearer for WWE the most on the show, and we give you a hard time about it. But we all love WWE. It's what we grew up on. Like, we
wouldn't be upset over it if we weren't passionate about the brand.
Is there a point where you as a fan see what they're doing as far as these types of moves where they're releasing mass talent, everything else, people that were there that you thought they could have did more with, whatever? Like, is there a point where you see all this and you just go, I'm just not going to watch anymore because it's a poorly run organization? Or I'm not gonna watch anymore because they've messed up on so many talents that I don't have trust in them to get anything right?
Me personally, no.
So no matter what happens,
I'd probably still tune in. Like, it'd have to shut down for me to stop watching.
See, I think I hit my breaking point this week.
Mm-hmm.
To where I'm not going to say
I believe this is too much, though.
I'm not going to. I don't think I've hit the point where I'm going to say I'm never going to watch it again.
Mm-hmm.
But like right now, I think I'm going to take a hard reset and like wait till the first of the year and tune in and get ready to kind of watch what they do leading up to the Rumble.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because right now, I just like I can't get behind what they're doing.
I have this image in my mind this week, and I hope I'm wrong on this. But just the moves that they're making and kind of hearing like how they're running the new performance center and kind of running everything down at NXT these days. It's like it's rumored that things are cookie cutter. We've seen that with how they do the announce team. Michael Cole's down there and he does cookie cutter announcing. Everybody that comes out of his school is just like him, and it's the same over and over again, which brings nothing. And they're kind of doing that they're trying to do that with talent in a way as well. But
that's been the case for years. The WWE style has been the way for years. Like, and we've seen guys off the indies come in and change their style to fit what WWE wants as far as a wrestling match, programming wise.
I just keep going over and over again. I think what they're trying to position themselves on why they're doing this is for if they do sell at some point. I just keep going, like it just keeps going in my mind. Like I think of the Harlem Globetrotters, that they're a touring company, so like what you're getting every time you go see them in a live event. Disney on Ice or whatever show they put on, what you're going to see. They're there to entertain that live crowd. And
so stop right there. Yeah, stop right there. You said Globetrotters and Disney on Ice. What are those two focused at? What's their main audience? The kids, right?
And that's why I constantly say WWE isn't for me these days, because I'm not a kid. It's like that's what they're geared towards, and they're not trying to entertain me. Does it entertain Vince, and are they getting the money from the kids? That's really it. And I could easily see Disney buying them up someday. I don't know if it will definitely be them, but because it fits what they're going with right now is kind of what fits their style. Disney knows how to market live events and do those kind of things, sell merch. And then of course there's the library there that could easily go on ESPN Plus or Disney Bundle or whatever.
Uh-huh.
So let's take a look at some of the names that were cut in, and just like look. I know not everybody's going to be a main event player, right? Yeah. You're not going to have a roster full of main event players. You need people for every section of the card, right?
Absolutely. You need,
and that's fine. That's fine. You need your jobbers. You need your lower card people. You need your mid card people, and you have your main eventers. That's fine, right?
Just like a team.
Just like a team, right?
Uh-huh.
You got to have role players to play along with the superstars. You know what I mean? Like, there's not many sports, probably basketball being the one exception, where you can just have superstars and be a really good team and win championships. Other than that, you need your role players. You need your people to play their roles consistently each time they step on the field or court or wherever they're playing to have success. Some of the people in this last round of cuts that just got released, it makes no sense to me how you drop the ball on these people. Keith Lee, Karrion Kross, Ember Moon, Mia Yim, Nia Jax to an extent, but she's been on the main roster so long that you could kind of see what it is with her, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just these were the 5 names that kind of stood out to me in this release as far as what they did. Nia's an exception. I'll leave Nia to last because I want to bring up something that relates back to the optics test that I said earlier. We've talked about Keith Lee's run before. 2 years ago in Survivor Series, he's arguably one of the hardest guys in the entire company, regardless of roster, NXT, main roster, whatever. Gets called up, wins NXT Heavyweight Championship. He's a double champ, NXT North American champion. Gets called up to the main roster, beats Randy Orton, and then nothing. And okay, I get it. Maybe you didn't have something planned out for him. But when you're calling somebody like that up who's coming off of a massive showing at Survivor Series and was in there with the top guy, the head of the table, Roman Reigns, and had the place going bananas for him, to me, it's like, okay, we need to have something in place for this guy. His size, his look, his charisma, everything is like, this is a prime guy that can be a main event player for a couple years.
Yep.
And it's everything WWE looked for.
Nothing there. So,
everybody you named, once they started talking, I checked out.
But didn't even have an opportunity.
Me personally. Like anytime Keith Lee touched the mic, I checked out. I loved his in-ring. But just his character, I checked out. Ember Moon was the same way.
Where
I loved Ember Moon in the ring, but she just didn't connect with me, like character-wise, promo-wise.
But look at how many opportunities they've had to connect promo-wise or character-wise. Keith Lee, they've tried 4 different versions of Keith Lee and then just released them. The last 2 versions, which we've heard him working stuff out on main event, was 1 to become a heel, which we never saw, and then 2, this Bearcat gimmick, which he came out on social media after his release and said, hey, not my idea, as what was reported before. So you had him wrestle once on Raw as Bearcat Lee, and that was it. And then he gets released. So you're doing these changes and whatnot, and yet you don't give these guys any opportunity to get it over.
We constantly hear that creative has nothing for you, but if there's one man, and again, we always go back to him, if he doesn't believe in you as a character, that's it. So if he's not invested or feels that he can't do anything to get you over, that's why this happens.
But we saw with the Keith Lee documentary on, what was that, 24/7 documentary on the network? I don't know if you guys watched it or not, but there's a moment in that documentary where it's him and Vince backstage, and Keith Lee shaking his hand and thanking him and this and that, and Vince has his arm on his shoulder and he's talking to him and this and that, and giving him the, hey, we do see something in you, you know what I mean? Like, I need you to prove it to me, which is understandable, right? Like, you got to prove to the boss that you can go and you can be a guy and whatnot. But how can you prove that when the boss is continuously moving the goalpost on you?
AJ Styles said the same thing whenever he first got here. He goes, I came out, I did a match. He goes, I thought it was one of the best matches I could do. He goes, I go in the back, and Vince says, hey, I got a whole locker room full of guys that can do that. He goes, show me why you're different. And then, he just had to think about what he could do differently. He went out there, I guess, after a couple of weeks, and Vince pulled him aside and said, that's what I want to see. And that's what he's delivered. And we saw what they've done with him since then.
But look at how much time and opportunity they've given AJ.
Yeah.
And AJ's not the strongest on the mic, Jay, to go back to your point with promos. No. You know what I mean?
But whatever Vince sees in him, however AJ adjusted his style or whatever, however he found the way to do that, whether it was Vince telling him or whether it was him on the side doing it, adjusting to where he thought, I guess he put in the work. I can't say that Keith Lee probably didn't put in the work. I'm sure he did, for as long as he's been around the business and all the territories he's been in.
And Keith is a little bit of a different scenario out of the names that I listed because there were some health issues involved with him, right? And
maybe that had something to do with it. Vince lost faith in him with that.
Same with Ember. She's a liability.
But Ember, since coming back into NXT, which nobody thought she would wrestle again based off of the Achilles injury that she had, right? Like we were all shocked when she showed up and actually got in the ring and looked like Ember. Yeah. Because Ember, before her injury, you thought she could be, she could be a champion on the main roster, if not like that. If you have your tier levels and you put your first tier, like Ember is definitely on that second tier level, work rate wise and everything, right? So like if she has the right character, finds the right groove, she has potential to jump up into that first tier every now and again when you need her. But she's definitely a strong second tier player, right? But her injury,
in ring wise, she's up there at the top.
And she's that type of talent too that is what they look for, is someone that can go out there and give you the same thing over and over again each week and still hit it out of the park each time.
And looks wise, she had a different look that made her stand out.
Yes.
Yeah. Based off of the hair, you know what I mean? Everything like she had a different look. So automatically she's outside of the norm. So she stands out because she's outside of the norm. So right there, she has good in-ring work and she has a great look. So as much as injury derailed her on the main roster, she goes back to NXT, has killer matches in NXT, and then it's all of a sudden, hey, we're going to take your tag team partner away. We're going to bump her up to the main roster. We're not going to do anything for you NXT TV wise. Have we even seen Ember Moon on NXT since Shotzi got called up?
No. Yeah, she was on.
Was she?
In a match?
Yeah. I forget who she lost to somebody. I think she lost to
did she fight Raquel?
Or Saraya? Raquel. Yeah.
Raquel.
Yeah. But not Raquel, Keely Ray.
Some of these names didn't surprise me, especially in NXT, because of the new direction they're taking. The one NXT that surprised me, like Ember Moon didn't surprise me. I mean, I wasn't happy that she's gone because I think she should still be there. But Taya Valkyrie was the one that surprised me the most in NXT, just because they hadn't even used her there.
So sidebar, we'll bring this up now since you brought up Taya's name, Frankie Monet. There was a directive that came out WWE that they only want to hire women that are 25 and younger, and not that age was the reason why Taya got cut, but she just turned 38. She's our age. So a lot of people online are speculating that she got cut because of her age.
Okay.
Wow.
But they want to hire women that are 25 and younger because they feel that that's an area where they're lacking talent at, and that also younger directive could help bring in a younger audience.
And you know who we have in charge of hiring talent, so you know he's going to go back to his normal hiring ways. And
well, it doesn't help them anyway because your women's division ain't doing anything.
You only got company are they doing anything with?
Yeah.
The whole company's not firing on all cylinders right now.
So that was just this little sidebar that came up around Frankie Monet.
Yeah.
I get it. She was one of the ones too where I'm like, damn, she just got there.
She got there.
Yeah.
Like literally just got there.
Like she shouldn't even be positioned as part of the old NXT because she didn't do enough on the old NXT.
No.
Right. Yeah, if you're gonna get rid of all the old NXT people, but it's like she came in at the tail end of that. She's only been there for 6 months. If that, you know what I mean? Like so that's the rumor and innuendo surrounding her name, but I don't buy that completely because if you look at some of the other cuts, like there's women that are not 30 that got released. You know what I mean? Like, and from the directive, like some people online were saying, well, that's like, how can you not hire somebody based off their age? That's discriminatory and this and that and everything else. I don't think it's a hard stance as far as the company won't hire a woman over 25. But if their main purpose is to draw like 20 to 25-year-old women because they feel that can help bring in a younger audience, and that's the direction that you're going with NXT 2.0, okay, I can see that you're looking. I mean, every company looks for a certain skill set, right, or purpose, or what can attract customers and whatnot. But to just flat out say, yo, if you're older than 25, we're not hiring you, like that's a little excessive to put yourself. That out there as a directive, you know. But yeah, Ty is another one where it's like character-wise, the Taya Valkyrie character was one of the best characters in wrestling, women's wrestling, across the board. She can go in the ring. She's wrestled around the world. She's been trained by Lance Storm. Like the girl's pedigree and resume is there, but yet you bring her into NXT, and at a time where you needed established names to help your NXT women's division because of call-ups that left and everything else, you chose not to do anything with her.
Yep.
Which is the common thread with,
like, take Taya, who, like you said, her resume speaks for itself. Where would you like to see her go next?
Well, we can hold on. I want to go before we jump into the speculation game, because there are some names where I think we can go to speculation games. But to circle back to the point I was trying to make, like, so Keith Lee could be a main event player based off of everything that he has in ring wise. We all agree on that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. I would have bought into him in his heel gimmick.
Yeah.
But we never got to see it. We never got to see it, right?
Didn't give it a chance.
Karrion Kross, Killer Kross on the Indies, one of the best characters coming into WWE from a fan base and everything else. Everybody else was super hyped to get into him. Whatever you think of his in-ring work, we can all talk about that. But just from the looks, looking at him, you say, okay, that's a pro wrestler. That's a heel. That's a guy that I can do something with. Everything that Vince covets, he has. Size, height, look, everything, right?
Yeah.
You bring him up after a 2-year undefeated streak. You bring him up on the main roster. You have him lose to Jeff Hardy the first night. And then you have him do a character change where he comes out in Spartacus Legion of Doom costume for what, one match? 2 matches? And he's off TV. 2 matches and he's off TV. And then he's released.
And you never gave that little hook of his of being his wife. You know, you
took his value away.
You have the money person right there with him. And
the money's in the duo.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
None of you were ever in the Cross.
I never got in the Cross. I was never big on.
I was never in the Cross. I was in the Scarlet.
But I was into. I never was in the Cross. I was in the Scarlet, but I was into the both of them.
Yeah,
they did down NXT as their entrance and all that stuff. I was into that.
I think that should have been that entrance on the main roster, and
that should have been a money maker.
Bought in you might not have bought into the person like actually in the ring, but I think you would have bought into the entrance, and that would have been that wow factor that they're always looking for.
Cross in AAA, Cross in Impact, Cross in the Indies. Yes, it was Cross in Scarlet, right? But just focusing on Cross himself. the creativeness and the character and all that. It was that natural born killer. They had the natural born killers thing going for them.
Mhm.
You know, the Woody Harrelson and that, like, and the vignettes and the short films and whatever that he put out on his YouTube channel, like all that stuff helped him cultivate an audience, and all of it was really good. He put out a 59-second video that was more impressive than anything WWE did for him on the main roster in his entitled run after he got released. It was 59 seconds. And you watch it, and it's literally all it is just drone shots through a graveyard and music playing and beats and everything else. And then like his logo flashes a couple times and it goes off, and it's like, why couldn't that be a 59-second vignette on Raw before you bring him up that gets people invested? Because it had everything in it. Entering question, like, who is this? Like, you know what I mean? All the stuff that we liked about our vignettes growing up, whenever they would debut a new character, right?
They don't like doing those these days for whatever reason.
No, because they got to show the sponsors.
They did it with Xia Li on SmackDown last night. They ran the same vignettes for her that they ran for NXT with the switch over to the gimmick that she was doing with Boa and that.
Okay.
So again, it's getting called up to the main roster, completely changing everything about you, throwing you out there in the dumbest looking gimmick ever that just automatically crushes any credibility that you have. Oh, and by the way, before we put you in the ridiculous costume, we're going to have you go out there and lose to Jeff Hardy on night one, which completely discredits everything you've done in the past 2 years. So how are they supposed to get over whenever you're putting that in front of them?
You were talking about the 59-second vignette. It was great. But if for any reason, if he ever pitched that to creative or to Vince or anything, that could have been the writing on the wall for him. Because if there's one thing they hate, is whenever talent gets themselves over. They want to be the one to get the talent over.
But if Vince likes when people stand up to him, and Vince likes when you don't back down from him, and you in a respectful manner, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you show him, hey, this is what I want. This is why I want it. This is why I think it'll work. And you present that 59-second vignette to him that he put out on his social media. Not saying that Vince is going to automatically run with the exact video, but maybe Vince looks at it and goes, okay, I see what you're doing. Let me think about it and come up with what you gave me and see how I can and put it into my vision for you. Vince has done that throughout the years with talent. We've heard stories across the board with talent going into Vince.
No.
So
that is an issue. Like if you listen, like Stone Cold will talk about this on his podcast, I know, and some other shows have talked about it, where during the Attitude Era, these guys were a little more stern, where they would, like Vince would come to them with ideas or creative would come to them with ideas and they would say, no, I'm not doing that. And apparently there's not as much of that these days. And,
well, the one person that there was a lot with that with got let go because Vince didn't like it, and that was Bray Wyatt.
No.
It's come out this week that Bray was very vocal about his creative and was very vocal with Vince and other people in creative and whatnot regarding the direction of his character and what he thought was right and wrong and everything else. And it got to a point where Vince just completely soured on him, and it turned into, no, I don't even like you anymore, so we're gonna let you go.
I think he's
so you gotta know how to walk the line with Vince, which
I think he's grown as a different type of person, Vince, in the past 20 years, because I think he's so used to having the yes men. Because I remember whenever Triple H was the world heavyweight champion, and they were like, with Evolution and everything, they were just shoving Triple H down your throat every week on Raw. And they let Pat Patterson go for a while because Pat Patterson went to Vince and said, this got to stop. You know, like you're using him way too much, like too many segments. You know, it's not the Triple H show. We need to do something different. Vince was just like, nope, this is what I'm doing. And Pat got released because he stood up to him. And just like, I think he's just so used to hearing everybody tell him how great he is. And it's just an ego thing.
So Cross and Lee both get called up. Both don't have both have everything changed about them that got them over in NXT, right? Mia Yim in NXT was involved in bangers. Her and Io's match was insane. Like, it was one of the best women's matches I remember watching at that time. Everything else, you bring her up on the main roster, you change her name to Reckoning, you put a mask over her face, but everybody knows it's Mia Yim. And again, no chance to get over. Then she goes away, is off TV for months. And then you draft her to Raw in the draft itself. A name on the graphic, right? She wasn't a free agent that they did the bullshit signing afterwards, whatever. No, she was an announced name on the graphic. Doesn't even debut on Raw after being drafted and then is released. So how is she supposed to get over whenever
she's not on TV?
She's not on TV. And the few times that she was on TV, she's in a mask as Reckoning in one of the worst angles and gimmicks that we've seen.
You think that she was released maybe just because they released Keith?
So now what? WWE is releasing couples?
I mean, they released Scarlett and Carrion, and they released the two of them, which makes me think if Taya was on the main roster, you know, because she was in NXT, I think that's why she got released. But if she would have been on the main roster, I wonder if she would either still been safe because of John, or if they both would have got released.
I think Swerve and Jessica May is a couple.
No, Swerve and B-Fab are a couple, and B-Fab got released.
B-Fab?
That's what I saw. I could be wrong. That could be misinformation. Don't 100% quote me, but that's what I saw. That's what I saw, and I think listening to LaGreca and them on Busted Open, they said that too.
But are they like a legit couple? Like, are they married or are they just like together? Because there's a difference in WWE.
I don't know if they're actually married or not, but B-Fab, B-Fab's an interesting one because we all know she's not in ring ready, right?
Yeah.
We all said that after she had that match, right?
Yeah.
But presentation wise for the group wise and everything else, like the opening line of the music is her voice. And she adds to the presentation. Like,
I heard it was removed. Is that true?
Yeah.
We'll see. Okay. So they did take that out.
Mm-hmm.
They took her out.
Wow.
So they took out the best, probably not the best part of the entrance music, but they took out the part that everybody would sing along in the audience.
And they just signed her to a new deal.
It's just, to me, it's
she would have had to have been if she was on the main roster.
Yeah, they signed her to a new deal next week. Cut.
To me, Jay, and this is to circle back to what you said, Jay, as far as you didn't buy in. The names that we mentioned, you didn't get a chance to buy in. You didn't have time to buy in. They changed up so many things.
I didn't buy anything on NXT.
You weren't into Keith Lee in NXT?
In ring, yeah. Once he started talking, I was out. I just hated his whole tone and cadence, and it just didn't connect with me.
But tone and cadence is something that could be worked on.
Like somebody said, he had that Lenny Poffo, Damian Sandow type delivery, intellectual type.
Okay,
and
that just didn't fit your character, your persona, your build. You know,
tone and cadence is something that you could change and work on. If that's what a disconnect is,
I feel like that was always him.
But if Keith Lee walks into a room, do you notice him?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's like he just walked into the room. You know, like to me, Keith Lee is a guy that has a presence.
I mean,
he walks into a room and you know. I'm not talking about stature.
You're a big guy. Anybody else walking this? I mean, nobody has a presence unless you're female to me. Like nobody's gonna be like, oh shit. No, if you're a dude just walking by, unless you're tall or big, that's your presence.
That's a corporate.
That's just me though. Like Who walks in and has a presence?
There's mad people that walk into a room and have a presence, dude, without saying anything.
No.
So, and I'll kind of agree with you, Jason. I don't think, for me, I wasn't ever completely hooked on Keith Lee. You know, I liked him. I liked him in the ring.
Definitely,
I wasn't a huge Karrion Kross fan, but I didn't mind him. Like, I thought he had the look to be a WWE superstar. I might not have thought either of them were future WWE champion, but I could easily see Keith Lee as Intercontinental Champion, U.S. Champion. Like, to me, he's not just a jobber that they could just push aside like this. I think he should have had a spot on the roster. Same with Karrion.
I agree with you.
So, hold on. I want to make sure I get this right, and then because this is regarding the last name that I brought up, and that's Nia Jax.
That one was my biggest surprise, just because of her being part of the bloodline.
Yeah,
that was it.
Sorry.
Like, when do they ever get rid of anybody in that family unless they did something wrong?
So Nia Jax has been off TV for a couple weeks here, and she's been off TV since the incident with Charlotte, right? So she gets released. A whole bunch of stuff comes out about Nia, right? And there was a lot of saying that her and a couple other talent were released because they weren't vaccinated, and there was a narrative being pushed and everything else. So Nia posted, which Nia rarely actually posts personal stuff. If she posts anything at all, she's not that active on social. So to me, this is her. This is her being completely honest from what I can read into the situation. But she posted that I usually keep my personal life private, but yesterday's reports leave me with no option to clarify the matters. I recently took a short leave of absence from WWE for a mental health break. I've been working through so much more than I want to share, so I took some time with the full support of the company to take care of myself. Earlier this week, WWE sent me my schedule to return to the ring for November 15th show. I asked for an extension to my mental health break, feeling that I needed more time and hoping I could have the ongoing support of the company that I've worked for the past 7 years. Never got a response. The next I heard was that I was being released. My vaccination status was never mentioned, and I wasn't given choices or options. It breaks my heart to be so abruptly let go without any consultation when dealing with so much privately. And then she goes on to say she loved her career at WWE. She's going to take time to process the loss of not being around the company and coworkers and everything else. So if Nia Jax was given time off due to a mental health situation where she needed time to focus on herself, and we've seen this in sports with Calvin Ridley coming out from the Atlanta Falcons, wide receiver, taking time away from football for a mental health break, and that's something else that I want to bring up in sports that really agitates me based off a take that I heard. Had an improved break from the company for mental health reasons. They sent her a schedule to return for the 15th. She asked for an extension. Doesn't hear anything back. Nobody calls. Nobody talks anything over, and then she's released. How, optically, back to my point, how do you look at that and say, okay, this is a company that I want to watch and support because they're taking care of their talent? If somebody's struggling with mental health and you know about it and you approve time off for them, and you come back to them and say, hey, no, here's your schedule for November 15th, this and that, and the person, and we know WWE does a lot with their talent as far as drug rehab and everything else, and those stories are well documented and helped Mike Bennett's entire run in WWE. He was in rehab getting himself right, and the company was there and supported him and everything else. And he thanked them whenever he got released for saying, hey, if it wasn't for you guys, I don't know where I would be or even if I would be around. Coming to WWE, regardless of what you think of my run, they helped save my life because they worked with me so much and allowed me to go to rehab and get myself clean and everything else. How do you how do you let somebody go in that situation and optically not think this is going to have backlash from our fans, from our audience, whenever in 2021 mental health is such a thing, and the scope on it is so big, and we're learning more about it each and every single time. And there's a lot of professional athletes in other sports that are speaking up about mental health for the first time ever. There's retired players that are doing a lot for mental health, like Brandon Marshall with the I Am Athlete and everything else, and all that he's doing over there with his platform and podcasts and everything. Like,
but then you get people like Ben Simmons.
So do you think Ben, who's using it,
just not to play for the Sixers?
So right, you have the flip side of that coin where you think, okay, that you're using that as an excuse. It could read looking into it, right? But based on I'm only looking at this specific person in this specific situation, based off of everything that she's done, habit wise and everything else, and how she is social media wise and everything. Like, looking at her specifically and directly, there's no reason for me to read this post from Nia Jackson and think that she's not telling the truth.
Yeah, I agree.
So optically, me as a fan, whether I hate Nia Jax or love Nia Jax, boo or whatever the case may be, as a fan, it's like, okay, you have a person, a coworker, a talent that's struggling. You know about it. You approve time for her to get it right. She asked to have an extension for however long. She didn't give those specific details. To not even call her back, not even discuss it, not even see where she's at, and then just release her. It's like, why would I want to put your product on the TV whenever it's like you don't even care about the people that are working for you?
It reminds me of whenever talent gets injured and they release them too. Like, the first thing that came to mind is just what you said, the drug and rehab and all that kind of stuff, that they support that, but can't support her mental health. But it's like, how many times does somebody get injured and then while they're at home recuperating, they get that pink slip?
Right. And that was more prevalent back in the day whenever they were such a mom and pop shop that, you know what I mean? Like, you couldn't afford, rightly or wrongly, but it was like, all right, you're injured. And that's why guys grew up in old school business, like, to protect their spot so much, because they knew if they were off TV for any reason, which led into the drug problems and everything else, because they were coping with injuries and whatnot that they couldn't take time off for because they would get released. So they turned to drugs and everything else, which then started that whole, you know what I mean? Like the circle
snowball effect.
Yeah, that snowball effect, that once that first domino falls, it leads to all the other dominoes. But in this situation, it's like you have an established main roster talent who's been a champion, who's working through something that is one of the primary focuses across the board publicly from a health conscious state, so to speak, that all these other players and organizations and sports leagues and everything else, even businesses now, it's, you know what I mean, mental health, and they're giving employees days off for mental health days. Like, we see companies announce that and made changes and everything else, especially since the pandemic, which has only shed more light onto mental health. To just go ahead and release the talent, it's like, why would I want to watch you?
And it's not like she was a troublemaker, outside of the ring or anything that we know of.
No, and you can.
The only thing that you
talk about
heard was that, whether her in-ring talent, her style,
right, in-ring work. You could say, you can argue that wasn't the best, and that, you know what I mean, like. But without Nia Jax, you don't have Becky Lynch.
Yeah,
that's very true.
If it's not for that quote unquote botch, where she not whether she meant to do it or not, but if it's not for that punch in the face and the bloody nose,
You don't get that iconic.
You don't get that iconic picture, and you don't get the man coming up to the spot that she's in now.
Mm-hmm.
Right? When everything happened with her and Charlotte in the ring shooting on each other during that match, everything that came out report-wise was that the entire locker room was behind Nia because she stood up to Charlotte.
Mm-hmm.
There wasn't a report or anything that came out about that whole situation that said that Nia was in the wrong for what she did.
Yeah.
So again, it goes back to optics for me. You're laying off all these people during the pandemic. You're releasing all this talent. And yes, the roster was bloated, but you bloated the roster yourself by signing up everybody.
Uh-huh.
Because you didn't want anybody to go elsewhere. But now you have a philosophy change based off of who's come into the organization, like Chris said with Nick Khan. And now it's like, all right, just nope, mass exodus. We're releasing everybody.
One of the things that kind of came up to mind too this week is I wonder if they know that all these other companies can't bring everybody in, that some of these guys are just going to work independence. And I just wonder are they releasing some of this talent that they want, and know that maybe, hey, a couple months down the line, we'll offer you another contract. It's going to be less money.
They have who besides Zelina Vega, who have they hired back after the cuts? That's the only one.
Yeah, she's the only one. It's just, it's just something that I thought. I wonder if that's the reason for so many of these cuts. If they're trying to save money for whatever reason.
So I forget who asked this.
I mean, they even brought in Harry Smith and didn't do anything with him. So they were paying him for absolutely
one dark
nothing.
match. Yeah. One dark match, and then you released them.
Yeah.
I think it was Russo that put out, is WWE still a dream job? And if I'm a talent and I'm looking at it optically at this point, after what's gone on over the last 18 months to, almost 2 years, I would say no. I would rather go work elsewhere.
I think it's subjective. We talked about this before. I think it depends on the person, what they're more into. I think if it's an athlete that wants to break into wrestling, I think WWE is the spot for them. If you're a traditional, like, indie wrestler, I don't see that being the dream job for you anymore, though.
All right, real quick, Chris, since you brought it up, out of the names that were released, we'll play the speculative game, even though I hate doing this so soon after releases. But who would you like to see go where and why?
Let's start with Nia. Do you see her going anywhere? Like, or is she like a legit? Maybe she'll go into entertainment more than she'll go and continue on wrestling.
I mean, she did modeling before she got into WWE and that. Nia, I won't comment on Nia given her situation and what she's dealing with because I don't feel right speculating on somebody that's dealing with mental health stuff right now.
Okay, start with Taya then.
To me, Taya, Medium, and Ember Moon all need to be signed in AEW.
I wouldn't mind seeing Taya go back to Impact.
If I'm AEW, I'm looking at it as not that my women's division is weak, but I want to add and bolster my women's division. Those three would be three that I would add.
Okay.
That won't get the well, Ember, you might get the ex WWE signee, but Mia and Taya, like, to me, they don't have WWE seasoning on them to where it's like, oh, it's ex WWE talent. Like, no, you're bringing in Taya Valkyrie. You're bringing in the AAA longest reigning Impact. Like, you're bringing in that Lucha Underground, like that,
and don't forget MLW is trying to build up a women's division.
Right.
So, I mean, there's
Cross to me is MLW.
Okay. I could see him being the star down there. I wouldn't mind that.
Does we talked about this last week with this reimagination of what ROH is going to look like in April. Does this help ROH at all?
Is there going to be an ROH in April? I think
I
that's
believe
more of
there.
the question.
I believe there will be a ROH in April. Out of everything that Talents posted this past week from the final TV tapings that they did, which they finished up this week, which will lead into Final Battle, or Death Before Dishonor. I forget which one is in December. Final Battle. So yeah, from everything that they're posting, everybody was super upbeat. Everybody went in and did their job and killed it to the best of their abilities, and they all sound positive that come April, whatever it's going to look like afterwards, there will be something. Now, it can change over the next 4 to 5 months, but from what they've posted, it all seems positive that there will be.
So are they feeling like they have a job come back around if they don't sign anywhere else?
From what I saw from talent that I followed on social medias, I feel like, yeah, there will be something there to where they'll have that option if they want to go back, which based optically on how they handled everything in ROH, I think talent would sign back to them. Now, whether they do it where they switch it up and they sign like they do like a I don't want to say shoot by shoot basis, but it's, hey, we're going to bring you in for this set of TV tapings and that and lead you up to this pay-per-view, and we'll pay you from this time to this time to do this shot, and then move on and bring in another group of people. Like,
so
I don't know what
kind of what Impact does.
Or was ROH week to week?
It's kind of like how MLW operates. MLW, when Court Bauer signs people, like when he brought in Leo Rush, he knew I had Leo Rush from this time to this time. I'll pay you from this time to this time.
So
I'll incorporate you in my stories from this time to this time, and then after that, we'll do a story that writes you off, and you get out of here and go do what you want to do somewhere else. And Court has pretty much established that across the board in MLW for talent. He just did it with Tom Lawler. Tom Lawler just left MLW, and he just had a casket match with Mil Muertes that'll be the payoff and the send-off for Lawler. So like Court does a really good job of that, and that's how Court continues to keep his roster fresh with talent, but also has his mainstay of guys too that are there, like Hammerstone and Fatu, that are going to be there regardless. So, I mean, if ROH goes to some type of that model with it, then I can see it working where you're bringing guys and girls in. You have a foundation of talent, men and women that you sign that are going to be your guys, and then you bring people in like the old territory days. Yeah, essentially is what they're doing.
And that was the rumor about Ring of Honor, was that they wanted to be more independent in their style. So
that's good. Yeah, nice waves coming in and out, in and out, in and out.
Scarlett.
So like did Braun sign anywhere yet?
No.
So what do you do with like a Braun, a Nia Jax, who were just straight up brought through, the athletes turned wrestlers?
Braun says he's not done. He's still trying to. There was rumor that he was going to sign with Impact, but apparently contract negotiations fell through. I don't know.
Did you watch the Free the Narrative too with him?
No, I don't watch any of those.
They're really good. EC3 is on to something, and Braun was on Busted Open, and then I think a week later they had EC3 on, or a couple of days later. But like their idea for that and what they do with it, I think that's something as an alternative that can legitimately work for them, because essentially it's like a movie, right? And they're bringing in certain people for just that movie. And Braun talked about how they're writing the third and fourth ones now. So like that's an alternative that's like, are you going to get, 70,000 people in an arena to watch it? No, but like with you doing that on YouTube and everything else, and if you decide to like tour it, so to speak, as like a live Broadway show, which is kind of like what they were talking about doing with it, like hitting up certain towns and just coming in doing that particular story and touring around the country with it. I think you can make it work for that. So like that's something that's that's different and outside the box that guys can pop in, get their name back on, work that storyline for however they're writing it, and then move on. So that's an option that they have there at their disposal. AEW is pretty filled up, right?
Yeah.
Yes. Oh, yes.
Especially from a men's side of things. That's why I said the women. If you're going to sign somebody, I'd like to see you sign women. And I brought up last week not that there's not other ROH talent to sign in AEW, but the only one that I want to see is the Briscoes in AEW. Just for the tag team matchups that I rattled off last week with it. So
because they have so
all
many
these
people down in Darken, down there. So many
all
people.
all these people have 90 days, except for Scarlett. Scarlett has a 30-day, and any NXT talent has a 30-day. Mm-hmm. But Scarlett posted yesterday, she's like, I've been a free agent for less than 24 hours. I just got a magazine cover and now discussing potential clothing lines. We're about to have a lot of fun. Like she's talking about OnlyFans. Like she is hitting it hard right off the bat. And that smoke show following that she had before she went to WWE, like everybody has been waiting for Scarlett to do whatever Scarlett wants to do. So like she's not going to have any issues no matter what she goes into.
No, she'll be fine.
Yeah, she'll be like how Lana is.
Keith Lee's to me. Keith Lee's probably the most interesting because I think Cross will fit in certain areas. He can go back to Impact. Like I said, MLW. Keith Lee, maybe I'd like to see go into like maybe do a little run in an NWA. Work on your mic work.
That could work for him.
The wrestling is there in NWA. He can go in the ring. They don't have that type of presence of a guy in NWA. So like, maybe go in there.
He could easily beat Trevor Murdoch. Can easily see that happen.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, Lee was a big name touring around the world doing it. I mean, him and Walter had probably the best match, one of the best matches of the year a couple of years ago. Mm-hmm. So like, we'll see how it all shakes out. But yeah, so I know we didn't get into any real true in-ring stuff this week. I don't know if you guys want to hit any of that before we wrap up and get into drink of the week.
We got AEW Full Gear next week. We can kind of wrap up this week's stuff in that. And I'm okay.
Yeah, just thought. So I know Jay, you said that you'd still watch. Chris, Donald, I know you guys were kind of in and out on the main roster product as is. Now, based off of what's gone on creatively and what you've watched on the show over the past, 6 months or so, a little more give or take. But is there anything that they would do based off of how they done that would just turn you off, make you not watch them? A la like Donald, like you with the Pirates. Like they're organizationally they've been run to a point where like I don't care. You're not gonna until you prove it to me. I'm not coming back as a fan.
The only thing for me that I can see myself watching WWE wise is Roman's run, see what they do with him, and that's basically all what I watch SmackDown for anyway. Is for that because I don't watch Raw at all. NXT and NXT is about to get cut too because it's rough.
I think people will still watch Mania though.
Oh yeah, because that's like I mean that's like people who don't watch the NFL who watches the Super Bowl.
Yeah,
there's
people completely turn you off. Like
and I love the Rumble, so I watch the Rumble, the Rumble and Mania. Yeah, of course I'll still watch that because when I took my 6-year break, I still watched the Manias. I didn't know the storylines going into anything, but I still watched them. But yeah, but like Raw's a turn off. Like I would never watch Raw again until something completely changes with that. NXT is about to get cut. It's not that I just can't get into it anymore. And I'll keep watching SmackDown because of Roman, like just Roman's parts.
Jay, I know we talked about last week changing up the formula. They changed up the formula, and it still was the same thing, even though they did it differently on Raw. So, like, instead of opening up with the in-ring talking segment, you played the recap package for Becky and Bianca, and then you had them do backstage interviews before the match. So it was still a talking segment. You just moved it from in the ring to the back. It's like, come on, man. Like,
For me, I think it's more. I'll watch like Survivor Series and stuff like that. But since the draft, I haven't watched any Raw, SmackDown, or NXT. I did watch Crown Jewel, but I might tune in for that stuff. But that's about it right now. I have no interest in adding 7 hours back on my plate of their product. I don't know what it would take. Something needs to change on their product, but I don't know what it is that would get me back in.
all right. That's it. That's all we got. That was Bell to Bell this week. Like I said, a little different talk. I know we took up so much time with this. I know we were supposed to do our creator wrestlers based off of what we had. Maybe we'll table that. Maybe we'll do a separate little after dark for that because that'll be
criteria. Maybe even harder.
That was the whole point. Yeah, maybe we'll do that as an after dark. Maybe we'll get into that because that will be a fun topic to get into. We could
debate,
debate and just run over that. So maybe we'll do that in the coming weeks or in the coming week or so. We'll hop on after dark and do a special with that. So all right, well that's Bell to Bell this week. Let's get into drink of the week.
Chug, 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 chug.
All right, this week's drink of the week segment. What do we have here? We have Empire Brewing Company's Black Magic Pumpkin Stout. So although we thought last week would be the end of the pumpkin run, we had one more to go.
One more. Hey, it's still fall. Still works.
Yeah.
We're not completely in the winter warmer area yet with Christmas.
No, we're not. But this is a scrumptious, creamy, roasty, 6.5 point alcohol by volume stout. It is brewed and packaged in Ellicottville, New York. Doesn't say. There's no breakdown on what's in it. I like the can. Can's cool looking.
Yeah.
Hopefully this hits better than the Trogs Masters of Pumpkin that you guys crapped on last week.
This is going to be room temp for me, but I haven't turned my heat on yet. So good thing.
What are you?
Dude, a British style over there, huh?
You see the text, and I was like, I'm not getting up. And I didn't.
Have you been up at all?
This smells like a pumpkin pie in a glass. I'm getting straight pumpkin pie out of this. Smelling it.
That's creamy.
That's what she
I
said.
feel like I'm
It's one of their adjectives, okay, Donald?
I feel like I'm drinking pumpkin pie.
Yes.
Like all I'm missing is Cool Whip or Ready Whip on top of this. Like this is
God damn! Why did you say that? I have pumpkin spice Cool Whip in the fridge. Oh.
You're always adding stuff to beer. You're always adding stuff. There you go. This is really good.
I hate it, but I don't.
Is that what you say all the time?
No.
I could have. I was
Especially for
expecting you
stout.
to hate this, so
I hate all
like
stouts.
it even just a smidge.
Yeah, I'm with you too. I hate all stouts, but man, this is tasty.
So Jay, on your ratings, is I would have another or not? Would you have another?
If you gave it to me, yeah. I'm not reaching the cooler for it.
If I spice it up with your pumpkin spice Cool Whip on top, you'll definitely drink it.
Oh, definitely. You put that on it. You put Cool Whip on anything, I'm eating it. Sorry. And
Yeah, you are.
You guys are in the wrong segment.
That's this guy, man.
He looked at that camera and he gave that anything.
All right. Sumo scale 1 to 5. Donald, what you got?
I'll give this Shockingly, it's a stout. I'll give it a 4.2. This is tasty.
Damn.
Wow.
This is good. I like this. I really do.
Yeah.
Chris?
It's good. I mean, how they describe it, of scrumptious, creamy, and roasty. Yes, yes, and yes. I think I'm gonna go 3.5.
I'll give it. I'll have another.
Yeah, I'm gonna go 3.75 on this. Like I said, to me, it's literally pumpkin pie in a beer.
Man.
Pumpkin pie as a beer, like that.
Stout.
Yeah, in a stout.
Flavor and
that's I don't want to say that's the most pumpkin-y, like out of the pumpkin beers that we've had, right? Like take whole hog out of the equation because whole hog is separate by itself.
That's all.
Yeah. But that one to me the most has the flavor profile that I enjoy if I'm drinking a pumpkin beer.
Yeah.
Trogs last week wasn't that, like I said, the only way I can describe it is literally like pumpkin pie as a beer. So if you guys like pumpkin pie, I would highly recommend this beer. If you don't like pumpkin pie, then pass on it. But
if
definitely,
you're a stout drinker and maybe pumpkin beers aren't your thing because you prefer stouts over the ales, this is something to try.
Yeah, I would definitely scoop this up if you still see it out. So that's a hell of a way to go out on a banger there with the pumpkins. Well done, Chris.
Yes.
Well done.
Yes, very well
with
done.
that.
Jeez.
Yeah, I'd buy this next season. I will look for this again.
Yeah, like I'm mad. I'm kind of mad that I only have one to drink right now. Like I wish, like after the show, I'd have a couple more in the fridge to just kind of like throughout the rest of the day. But yeah, that hits on all levels. So I'm good with
6.5. It's something that you could, and I like the carbonation in there too. So it's something that you can drink. I think a couple of them and be happy with that.
Yeah, I'm not drinking a 6-pack because it is a stout and the weight of it will get too heavy. But no, if I have two to three of those over the course of like hanging out and bullshitting and whatnot, like I'm in all that.
I think that carbonation helps with the stout, so it's not sitting in your stomach real heavy afterwards.
No, that's a positive review there for the Black Magic Pumpkin Stout. And with that, raise your cups, glasses, brown paper bags, shot glasses, red and blue soda cups, whatever you're drinking with this week, and to good ships and wood ships and ships that sail the seas. The best ships are friendships, and friends will always be. All right, this week in sports was mirrored by anything but sports. The hot topic of the week was the Aaron Rodgers story, fiasco, debacle, however you want to label it. But that's literally what was being talked about the entire week. Well, at least since he tested positive on, I think, Tuesday or Wednesday. He showed up on Pat McAfee's show yesterday and gave his side and explained himself and, in a lengthy way. If you want to go out there and listen to it and get his explanation for why he did what he did and why he said what he said, you can certainly go out and listen to that. It's out there on YouTube, on Pat McAfee's YouTube channel. So go out there, watch it, listen to it. Whether or not you agree with him or disagree with him, that's your choice. I'm not going to point one finger one way or the other, but that was definitely the story of the week from that sense. It's fascinating. I listened to it live as he was on the air yesterday, and a lot of, and it sent the internet into a buzz yesterday. And a lot of it was, hate or love, one side or the other, pounding their chest. I think the only thing that I took out, the main thing that I took out of it, and this isn't just for this type of discussion, subject matter that they're talking about with vaccine or not vaccine and whatever. the one thing that I thought he said, which I think we need to do more of, which has been lost over the last 10 to 15 years, maybe, probably since social media like really took off. Nobody has a conversation anymore. It's you're right, I'm wrong. This is why I'm right. This is why you're wrong. You're wrong, I'm right. This is why you're wrong. This is why I'm right. Nobody talks and listens and goes into a conversation about anything anymore, regardless of how divisive the subject matter is. It's always this
opinion's correct.
Yeah, it's always the stance of right or wrong. And that's where I think why we've gotten to the point where we're in
coming from a person who was always right.
Well, with one gotta go, I am always right.
No, not you. Not, you too.
It's different.
But him.
That's different. No, but I mean, like, you know, the art of the conversation has disappeared in this country in general. Just, I mean, from text messages to 140 characters on social media, you know what I mean? Like, and whether or not it was as prevalent as we see it now years and years ago, who knows? But I think like more people were willing to have an open discussion and debate about things and not just doing it to prove I'm right, you're wrong. You know, we see the meme all the time of the guy sitting in the chair at the table with the sign, whatever sign people make up. And it's like, it always ends with change my mind.
Mm.
Like willing to have the conversation to change my mind. And just because I believe something and you believe something and those beliefs may not line up and we may not agree on it, but if we have the conversation, we could walk away to where, all right, I see what you see. And you see what I see. Like, I'm not here to change your mind. Like, you're going to believe what you want to believe. But if we have the open discussion, at least like there may be things that are said to where I go, okay, well, I found that to be interesting. Let me go figure out why that is, or look into something more. You know what I mean? Like, it's not just we're going to shout and spout off our views to fit our narrative to be right, and that's it. And we all walk away and nothing gets accomplished.
Yeah, that's where compromise can come into place.
I personally think it's just because people get keyboard tough and
keyboard warriors. What?
Yeah,
those Twitter tough guys.
But yeah, no, I mean, that was the biggest takeaway from it. So I know this is a sports segment and this isn't really a sports conversation, but that to me was the biggest thing. Like, you know, be open to having a conversation. The best conversations are the ones that are uncomfortable. And you guys are single, and me being the only married guy on the panel right now. When you're married, like you're forced to have those uncomfortable conversations at times because there's a lot of things that happen that you may not agree with your partner on, but in order to work through to stay together, you have to have uncomfortable conversations.
Everybody,
and Donald,
breakups happen for numerous reasons, but you constantly hear a lot of people talk about it was the breakdown of communication.
Right. And that's the number one thing. We lack the ability to communicate with each other, not to communicate as in to prove why I'm right, just the lack to communicate to express why I feel the way I feel about things.
Yes. You have to break
regardless of subject. Yeah. Regardless of subject matter.
Yeah.
You know, it could be turkey and stuffing versus, you know, chicken and waffles, but like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's for everything across the board, from the most serious of conversations to the dumbest of dumb.
Yeah.
You know, like
I always say, you can't see the light through a wall. You can't. So you have to break it down to see something.
I see through walls.
There's Donald's
t-shirt. Okay, Superman. Yeah. And so, that's what the problem is within the country. Yeah. And tell the people not Washington, D.C. that, but that's another subject.
See, there you go. Now you'll start the arguments. No, so that was just my takeaway. But it's out there. You know, it is a prominent sports figure. So yeah, you can take it with what you deal with it. So that was kind of the big discussion there. The Braves won the World Series. So shout out to Atlanta, first time in 25 years that they won a championship. You can tell they haven't won a trophy in 25 years because the buses were driving 30 miles an hour through the parade route. Looked like Keanu Reeves in Speed. He was like, we got to stay above 50. Don't go below 50. They were flying through the parade route. It's like, yo, can you slow down to where I can get a picture? You know, back in the day, whenever you had your click camera, and then you went to take it to get the film developed, and you didn't know what you were going to get, right? Take the picture, and you don't know if it's going to be a good picture, if it's going to be blurry. You don't know what's going to be in the camera lens. Like, you had no idea. I couldn't take it. No, I don't care if you have an iPhone 74. You weren't getting a clear picture of people on that bus because they were flying through the parade route.
They had that action shot. You got to go with the motion.
Steve's dating us for our young audience out there. We used to have disposable cameras and had to wait days for a picture.
Yeah, I was just like, yo, Keanu, hit the brakes, man. Let somebody get a picture. Like, slow down. So the Braves won. Baseball's over with. That wrapped up there. Football, obviously, big slate. The big thing this week was the announcement of the first college football playoff came out. Donald, I know you wanted to touch on this.
Oh man, if Cincinnati,
we had Georgia, Alabama, Oregon,
Michigan State, and Oregon.
Michigan State at 3, Oregon at 4. Ohio State was 5, Cincinnati was 6, and that's where comes into play. First off, I don't want to say they did this in a way to get people to talk about it, but they did it in a way to get people to talk about it. The first one doesn't mean shit. It doesn't matter at all. There's so many between the games that are lined up the next 3 weeks. All this stuff is going to sort itself out because of who plays who when, right? So yeah, like you have Ohio State and this is. Did they get the top 4 right? In your ask, week 1 of the bracket, did they get the top 4 right? And if they got the top 4 right, were they seated correctly?
I say myself, no. It should have been, for me, it would have been Georgia, Cincinnati, Michigan State,
I have a
Alabama.
Question. Oh, yeah. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
If Cincinnati walks into a room, do they have a presence?
They do, because you know why? They're 8-0.
They've also finished the regular season undefeated 2 years in a row, and we all loved it.
Test.
And then they always say, "Oh, what did they do the last bowl game? They lost to a Georgia squad by 3 points." And they always say you have to work your way up from the other 5. You got to build years before you can do this.
So Cincinnati is by far the highest ranked team out of the non-power 5 since they've done the college football playoff announcements, right? They come in at 6. There's never been a team ranked that high. They beat Notre Dame in South Bend. That's Notre Dame's only loss. Notre Dame's number 10 in the country.
Yes.
They haven't looked great the last 2 weeks over Navy and Tulane, which between the two of them, I believe they only have 1 or 2 wins. They only beat Navy by 7. Tulane hung around way too long. So when you're outside of the Power 5 and you have the win that you have over Notre Dame, which is Notre Dame's only loss, and Notre Dame should finish 11-1, so that'll help bolster Cincinnati a little bit. But to Jay's point, you got to have style points. You got to be blowing these other teams out the water, regardless of whether it's right or wrong. Listen, to me, I think you line Cincinnati up against any one of those top 4 teams, and it's a ball game. I don't think they get dog walked by anybody. Maybe Georgia this year because Georgia's defense is so ridiculous. And it's arguably, as the season plays out, we'll see, but it's arguably one of the best defenses in college football history.
Yeah.
Not just this year, but in all of college football since they've been playing college football.
Yeah, their shot offense is down.
So, yeah. But, I mean, listen, Michigan State deserves to be in the top 4. They just beat Michigan, which was the 6th-ranked team in the country at the time. according to the AP poll. They were down 30-14 and came back and won that game. So, like, yeah, that's a big time win, big time comeback. We'll put you up there. You'll sort your way out because you still have to play Ohio State and Penn State, right? Oregon went into Ohio State and beat Ohio State at the Horseshoe, which to me is probably the most impressive win of the year. And then they lost to a Stanford team that's not really good. They were down. Stanford was down 38-0 at halftime to Utah last night. So, I don't know if the Pac-12 has enough strength throughout the Pac-12 to keep Oregon up in that top 4 throughout the season.
And all their tough games are coming up soon too.
Right. Ohio State, same thing with Michigan State. You're going to get your chance. You beat Penn State last week. You play Michigan State and you play Michigan. So there's your chance for you to get up into the top 4 with one loss. Alabama, you can't say Alabama's not one of the top 4 teams in the country because they are one of the top 4 teams in the country. The logic that they came out with as to why they put them at 2 made no sense. It was, what did they use to describe it? It was like a qualified loss to an SEC team or on the road or something. Like they phrased it in a way, and I'm like, yo, a loss is a loss. It's not it's not a qualifying loss. Like you lost.
That's a good loss.
Yeah,
that's a
good loss. Like
that's what the one Cincinnati fan, because game day was from Cincinnati, he had a sign saying, "So if we lose, we could be number 2 in the country," right?
I just think it will shake out over the next couple of weeks, right? I think the big takeaway that I took looking at, and this committee for whatever this year, there's 8 new committee members on the board, and looking at this first rankings from 25 to 1, and Pitt sits at 25. So if Pitt wins out, Pitt pitted last week. They did what they did. They gave up freaking 21 points in the first 10 plays of the game. Like, people can talk about the safety call all they want, and they got screwed.
No, they gave up 38 points.
Yeah, you lost. You failed to show up at a time when you needed to show up. You did a pit. So you come in at 25, which is great. You win out. You're in the ACC championship game. You win that championship game. You can potentially have a New Year's Six bowl, right? But if you look throughout the top 25, head-to-heads matter to this committee.
Yes.
So you saw teams being ranked in front of other teams that they beat head-to-head, even though the other teams had less losses than those teams.
Just like Oregon and Ohio State.
Oregon and Ohio State.
Same record, but the head-to-head count.
Right. So I think not that that is a good thing, because in the past, head-to-head wasn't viewed so much.
No, it wasn't.
It didn't matter. We saw that time and time again. So yeah, there's that scenario. Like I said, it'll all shake out. Look, we're on Alabama and Georgia. They both went out. They play each other in the SEC championship game. If Georgia beats Alabama, Alabama's out. They're not in the top 4.
Yes.
Although Joey Galloway seems to think that they may still stay in as a 2-loss team. We'll have to see whatever everybody else does.
Unless everybody else is a lost team, there's no way.
No, because he's homer for Ohio State.
Yeah.
But if Ohio State's number 2 in the country, get the hell out of here.
If Alabama beats Georgia, then to me, you have 2 SEC teams in the playoffs, because Georgia would have ran through the SEC undefeated, and they only lost to Alabama. So you're not going to drop them out of the top 4 just because they lost to Alabama in the championship game. So you would have 2 SEC teams in the Final 4. But yeah, it'll all shake out. Coming down the stretch here, it'll lead to some interesting conversations as the rankings come out each week from now till the end of the season, based off of the games and where people are at. Cincinnati, for me, though, for them to get into the top 4, they're going to need Oregon to lose again. They're going to need Ohio State to lose again, and they're going to have to blow people out the rest of the year. And as unfair as that is, because I would love to see the underdog get in for a shot, it just is what it is when you look at like strength of schedule and everything else. Like, and potentially they may not have a chance to pick up another ranked win throughout the rest of their season unless, Louisiana gets ranked again or SMU gets ranked again here, which neither one of those two teams were ranked at the first edition of the rankings. It's just going to be hard for them. Like they can only do what they can do. So you got to go out there.
They just got to, they just got to beat the teams on their schedule and hope Notre Dame is still winning.
Yeah, you hope Notre Dame wins out, and then there are some teams behind them too that they got to worry about that'll leapfrog them. Oklahoma's back there, Michigan's back there, so like you have teams like that that have the potential to leapfrog. I think the Big Ten and SEC just bias in this top 25 rankings was evident. Wisconsin ranked, like they have 3 losses, I think. Mississippi State was ranked in the teams and they have 3 losses. Like
that sounds typical. It really does. But
like
if Cincinnati do what they do, if they blow out all the teams and they win every single game and those teams topple, like above them, they topple and they still don't get into the playoffs, if they still don't get in, I think there might be an uprising. I really do think.
So that's that. I'm not sure if there's any real big time matchups today. I know Alabama plays LSU, but LSU stinks this year, so that's not really a marquee game like it usually is.
It's just a bland conference day.
We had hockey this week. Penguins news, they had COVID run rampant through their organization. Bunch of people out, and yet they managed to pick up a win the other night. Chris, thoughts on that? Gutty performance there, getting a shootout overtime win?
It's what they're doing. That's what I said a couple weeks ago. That's my worry about this season is how much we're going to go back into overtime and shootouts this season with them.
Yeah, it's going to be hard. As early as it is in the season, the division looks like it's just about a loss unless they can go on a super hot streak.
Yeah.
So now you're looking at how can we manage to accumulate enough points to get us to be in the top 8 realistically is where they're at.
Me and Dawn have talked about this numerous times, and I think we may have even brought it up once on the show. I wish hockey would go to a shorter season. That lockout year a few years back, whenever they just did January to June, like that was a good season. Like it almost made you want to watch it because you knew it was the chase for the cup.
Mm-hmm.
All sports needs to.
Yeah, because that you only have so little time to do anything. It's like the big sprint. So everybody.
last year baseball played the 60-game sprint and then went into the playoffs. They had Dansby Swanson on Pat McAfee's show, and he's like, we play 162 games in 180 days. So it's damn near almost a game per day in a 6-month period. So like
baseball need to cut down.
You can shorten that down. They won't ever do it. We all know why they won't change length of schedules in any sport.
100 games.
I think it can make it for a more exciting season for sure.
Absolutely.
And NFL wise, like I said, we touched on Rodgers. He's out this week. Steelers got a big win against the Browns last weekend. Went in there, shut the dog pound down.
That fake
the Browns. The Browns are the Browns. Yeah, it was a bad call. I don't see why you got to go for the shock and awe there. Just kick it, take the points, given the situation. However, they missed the call on the fake field goal. Yeah, they missed the helmet to helmet.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
So Boswell's not a kicker there. He's a passer.
He's a quarterback.
He's essentially a quarterback. So you need to call the helmet to helmet. But hey, you got to win. You're 4-3. You should beat Chicago Monday night, and then you should beat Detroit the following week. So you should be 6-3 going into the ruthless schedule they have down the stretch, where they play Baltimore twice, Cleveland, Cincinnati again, Kansas City, Tennessee, to wrap out the regular season, I believe. So that's going to be just a brutal stretch for the Steelers. And most of those games are away too.
Mm-hmm.
I think they only have one. And the Chargers.
Also.
I think they only have one home game down the stretch.
This game showed me the difference between kickers and punters.
What do you mean?
The fact that a punter can't kick off is crazy to me. Like,
no, it's not
a routine.
No, it's not.
I mean, he was a punter. He's a punter.
No, it's not.
Crazy to me.
And somebody and I played soccer, I played football, I played rugby, and I punted and kicked off in football and I kicked in rugby and not playing soccer. So like I was able to do both.
Yeah.
Right. But Pat McAfee broke this down really good when he talked about it on his show on Monday. He said it's the same as it's a baseball swing versus a golf swing.
Yeah.
So like if you don't grow up doing both, if you only specialize in one, it's really hard to do the other because the swing is completely different.
But he was a punter and kickoff, right?
Yeah, he did kicking and punting, but he also played soccer and everything else. So like if you grow up playing soccer and that, you could work into doing both. Yeah.
Okay.
He was a kicker in college.
Okay.
But he got drafted to punt in the NFL. But even whenever he got drafted, he's like, I didn't know how to punt. Like I had to learn how to punt. Mm-hmm. But he was able to do it because he played soccer and that. So like he was able to adjust. But if you just strictly punt or you just strictly kick off, to do the other is really difficult because it's a completely different type of swing. You're using different muscles, like the whole 9 yards. So the fact that Presley Hunter, God love him, 250-pound, 60-pound punter, chubby guys around the world, rock your number 6 Steeler jerseys. Yeah, that I could see why. Derek Watt was their emergency kicker.
The fullback we never use.
Yeah. So I don't know. They can't have a letdown these next 2 games.
No, they definitely can't. And you know how the Steelers are whenever they play down the competition, like teams with terrible records. You always know.
I don't feel so much that way Monday night because the Steelers on Monday night, especially Monday night at home, their record Monday nights at home is insane. I think they've only lost like 2 or 3 Monday night games at home over the course of their existence.
There's a Detroit quarterback coming.
That Detroit game scares me. I'm sorry, it does.
So we'll see, but they should be 6-3 going down the home stretch. So you have 8 games left, and you see where you're at after that time. But yeah, so we'll see how that goes. I know a lot of us will be tired going into work Tuesday morning from that standpoint. But anything else from sports to get into?
OBJ and Deshaun Jackson are on the market.
Yep, the Browns officially waived OBJ.
Did anybody watch that video by his dad?
His dad didn't do that video.
I didn't watch the whole thing, but just like the first 2 minutes, I was crying.
They said he did it.
His dad ain't put that video together.
He said his dad. He said he did it.
It showed like 2 missed passes and everybody hurts kicks in. That was just.
I didn't watch it.
You talk about a promo.
So I don't think anybody's going to pick him up on waivers because if they pick him up on waivers, they'd have to owe him the remaining part of his salary for the year. And a lot of there's only, I want to say maybe 6 or 7 teams that have like over 5 or 6 million in cap space right now. So I think he'll clear waivers and then he can sign with wherever he wants to go. And essentially double dip. The Browns will continue to pay him, and then he'll sign a vet min deal somewhere else. So he'll get paid, twice for the remainder of the year. It just wasn't a fit in Cleveland. It wasn't. So for whatever reason, if you look statistically, Baker has better stats when OBJ is not in the lineup. Which, I mean, that's kind of hard to believe, but everything is up. Completion percentage is up. Touchdown to interception percentage is up. I mean, yards per attempt is up. Like everything is up. So we'll see there. But yeah, I don't know where he signs with or who he signs with. Von Miller was out there tagging him on social media, like, come to the Rams and chase this ring. It's like, the Rams don't need to sign OBJ.
You just let Jackson go. The same receiver.
Yeah. Same receiver, just taller.
So yeah. But yeah, that's it. I don't have nothing else for sports. We did enough heavy talk this week, so I won't touch what Marcellus Wiley said about Calvin Ridley and his piss poor take on mental health and that. If you're there, go watch the clip if you want to see what he said. But to me, it was probably the worst take on mental health I've heard somebody say. And as a former professional football player, to say what he said, it just makes no sense and kind of gets me hot. But I'm not going to go into it because we've talked heavily about other stuff this week. So
Usman Covington tonight, right?
Yes, I was about to say
Usman Covington tonight.
Hope Usman break his jaw again. Can't stand Covington.
Yeah, Usman Covington, Rose and Rosa, and I forget who else is fighting on the co-main event for the women, and then you also have Gaethje and Chandler. So 3 really big time fights there to headline this card. I watched the UFC last week, 267, hell of a show. The fact that I got to watch that for free on ESPN Plus was amazing because that was just top to bottom from prelims to main event was tremendous. Glover Teixeira becoming light heavyweight champion at 42, the second oldest champion in UFC history, only behind Randy Couture. And doing it 7 years after his first title shot was just a hell of a story. So yeah,
go back and watch that on demand.
Really good show. But yeah, that's it. Anything else for sports? All right, let's get into it. Roll renowned, world famous. One got to go.
I thought that was Donald's line now. All right, last
Chris,
week we did the Halloween. What was it? Halloween traditions. So we'll be talking about the polls that we ran this week between Donald and myself, and pumpkin patch and apple picking gotta go.
Wow. Okay.
I don't agree with that.
But that was a good one last week for Halloween. So we'll get into this week. Steve, this is actually kind of tying on one that you did a few weeks back. You had done One Gotta Go game shows. And in that episode, you said we were talking about some of the hosts, and you said this is just about the game shows, not the hosts. So here's one just on game show hosts. So we got Alex Trebek, Bob Barker, Pat Sajak, and Richard Dawson.
You put Richard Dawson up there like people are going to know who Richard Dawson is. You should have put Steve Harvey up there. The list is wrong to begin with. You screwed up the list to begin with, dude.
Steve Harvey's the host now, but I think when you think of Family Feud, we think of Richard Dawson.
Everybody and their mother's going to vote Richard Dawson because nobody knows who he is. And if Richard Dawson was around in this cancel culture, he'd have been gone because
that's what people doing.
All the lip smacking he was doing on that show.
I mean, Alex Trebek's not around now. He had to put him on because he was the host of Jeopardy for
But everybody knows Alex Trebek.
Yeah.
Because Richard Dawson got to go out of these 3. And I'm not just saying that because nobody's going to know who he is. But people may not know who Bob Barker is either because of how long he's been gone. Drew Carey's had that gig for a while there. But, yeah, out of these 4, if you just look at Richard Dawson got to go. Trebek is Trebek. He's he's all-time great. Bob Barker, get your pet spayed and neutered was the classic line at the end of each show. Pat Sajak's still doing it. I don't know what type of skin regimen he's on or whatever, but like my man is up there in age and still looks like he's 40 years old. Richard Dawson got to go with all your smoochy, handsy stuff you did. He wasn't even that entertaining on the show.
Oh, bullshit.
He wasn't. Steve Harvey should have been on here.
Back then,
if I had a marker, I'd scratch off Richard Dawson and I'd write in Steve Harvey in blue ink.
And then guess who's going? Steve Harvey.
Well,
So, one, Richard Dawson was in the greatest movie ever, The Running Man, so he's not going anywhere. He's the first to stay.
nobody's gonna know who that movie is
I know
either.
who Richard Dawson is. Nobody knows The Running Man but me. Nobody knows Richard Dawson. But
It is a great 80s movie, though. That's classic. 80s.
Alex Trebek has to stay. Bob Barker, even though Kerry proved he's replaceable, he has to stay. I'm more in Wheel of Fortune for Vanna White, so Pat Sajak can go. To me, Vanna's more iconic.
I'm with Jason. On Richard Dawson. Richard Dawson got to stay. He got to stay. He is the Family Feud. Sorry, but he is.
Yeah.
Bob Barker got to stay just because I love his putting skills during a putt thing. Only man who could do it. Pat Sajak. I'm not into Wheel of Fortune like that, but I don't mind Pat Sajak. Alex Trebek was just the host on Jeopardy, and I'm more for Jeopardy as the game, not the host. Alex Trebek got to go.
No, that's good. That's the wrong answer.
Bring the heat. I don't give a. Bring the heat. I don't give a fuck. Alex Trebek got to go.
New shirt.
Yeah. So for me, kind of what Jason was saying, just like I'll just skip over it. Pat Sajak, I love Wheel of Fortune, but Pat Sajak to me just doesn't define the game. Where Alex Trebek, Bob Barker, and Richard Dawson kind of defined those game shows when they hosted them. So Pat Sajak can go for me.
No shade to Pat Sajak, but
you guys are crazy. Sajak's the only one still doing the gig. He's outlasted everybody on the list.
But if he left tomorrow, would you be like, oh,
no.
Yeah, I would. I wouldn't watch Wheel of Fortune again because you can't replace Pat Sajak. Just like I haven't watched Jeopardy since Trebek left.
Did you watch
just
the weekend
like,
I hosted?
Just like I stopped watching CSI when Gil Grissom left, although he came back on CSI Vegas, and that show is really good. Like any one of those characters you take off of a show, you're not gonna watch it anymore. It's not the show. I still watch Family Feud, even though Richard freaking Dawson's not hosting it. Al Borland was a better host than Richard Dawson. And he was
lies.
Send your hate to that man.
No. You just didn't watch Family Feud apparently when Richard Dawson hosted.
Richard Dawson did nothing but kiss women and
it was great for the time and era.
Still gropes.
Good on Match Game, good on Family Feud. Watch Game Show Network every now and then.
Kissing black women on the lips on live TV in this brilliant.
Listen,
this man is breaking barriers.
And
fucking Dawson.
No, as a guy that's in an interracial marriage, I don't throw Richard Dawson as one of the people that I thank for letting me have the ability to marry my wife. Okay, Richard Dawson, you crazy. I don't got nothing else to say. I'm right. You guys are wrong. And that's it.
All right, guys. Thanks for tuning in to episode of 61. Before we send things home, just a couple things to go over. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell so you get notifications when we go live every time. Like and follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at DumbMarksPOD. Don't forget our audio-only edition of the show is available on demand on all your favorite podcast platforms. And support the show by telling a friend and also purchasing our official merchandise at ProWrestlingTees.com/DumbMarksPod. Before we send things home, Jason, I got some something to beef with you on real quick. Last week in Smash or Trash, I sent you a list of things to go over, and I did not give the thumbs up on the candy canes.
No,
you said they were Chris approved. I do not want a sour cream and onion, a sardine, or whatever the other one was for candy cane. So no, I do not want those. Can't go back and edit that now, but just want to set the record straight on that one.
I just had
Everybody else?
one gaming thing. Call of Duty Vanguard came out yesterday, and from what I heard from people, it's a 300 gig update that included Warzone and all their stuff. I was like, power to you people for doing 300 gigs off of a system for one game. That's ridiculous.
And you probably still got to upload the last game.
Right.
2 terabyte systems coming soon.
Couple quick hitters for me. Final thoughts. The Rogers interview on Pat McAfee's show, it had 72,000 people tune in for that on YouTube for his show, for that interview alone, which is insane. New Japan has Power Struggle tonight. The big matchup on that is Okada versus Tama Tonga. They've been having a really good back and forth throughout the G1, so that's a good match to tune in for tonight. See here, IWC, they have their winner takes all show tonight as well. Palace versus Bulk, Bear Country versus Money Shot, and Money Shot may be the greatest tag team name ever. Dillinger versus Carter, Knox and Dupree versus Pollock and Argos. So that's on. You can watch that on Fight TV if you're interested in IWC locally. Jamie Hayter versus Anna Jay had 915,000 viewers and 408,000 in the 18 to 49 demographic on Dynamite this week, which was the peak for the show. So there you go, Jay. Another reason why the TBS tournament has been better than the Queen's Crown.
On Dynamite?
Yes.
That was your best thing on Dynamite?
That was the most viewed.
The most viewed on Dynamite. Your flagship show. Not your champion?
Tournament versus tournament.
Not your TNT?
Okay. TBS tournament better than Queen's Crown tournament. AEW announced that they'll continue.
So the week after Anna Jay posts skimpy pictures.
AEW announced that it's renewing its partnership with Johan Promotions to host Full Gear event live in theaters again on Saturday. So participating theaters include Cinemark, AMC, Regal, Harkins, iPick, Imagine Entertainment, and others.
I saw that around here. It's $25 a person.
Yeah. John Moxley's book came out. Entitled Mox. I've heard good things about the book itself. Hopefully he gets
done. I like you, man.
Hopefully he gets himself right. He checked into rehab this week. So thoughts and prayers go out to him and Renee and everything. Hopefully he gets himself right there. There's that. And then just real quick, some TV entertainment stuff that I had.
Before you get into that, one more wrestling thing. If you guys saw the Dark Side of the Ring a couple weeks ago about XPW, XPW's doing their pay-per-view Rebirth tomorrow on Fight TV.
Wow. Okay. I don't know how I feel about that.
Yeah.
Rumor is that Jim Carrey has signed on to play MODOK, villain in the MCU. So there's that. Sofia Vergara signed up to portray Griselda Blanco in Netflix series. So for those of you that follow up on your drug kingpins, you should all know who Griselda Blanco is. Sofia Vergara playing her. We'll see. Maybe a stretch, and not because Sofia Vergara can't act. I'm just talking from a looks wise. Sofia Vergara is way above where Griselda Blanco actually was. So
I see that's coming from the people that made Narcos.
I believe so, yes. Which I love Narcos. One of the best series that I watched. Love Narcos there. Norman Reedus, Sean Patrick Flannery, and the director all signed on to the Boondock Saints 3. So that'll be in the works. I enjoyed the. Yeah, there was a 2. Really good there. So I'm happy for that. Biggie's Ready to Die album has been on the billboards it's been on the Billboard charts. It's the oldest album on the Billboard charts. It's continued to stay in the top 200 for the past 27 years.
Wow. Impressive.
So shout out there. And then lastly, final thoughts wise on a local tie-in, the Triangle Bar and Grill in Swissvale that we all grew up with and loved, received the best hoagie in Pittsburgh by the Pittsburgh City Paper for 2021. So shout out to Tom Crombie and the boys. There was a write up there.
And that's how much their hoagies cost now, 2021.
This guy. This guy, unbelievable. Wow. All right, let me see if I had anything else here. I don't think I had anything else.
Anybody else?
No.
Ladies, I do drive, I do pay, and I don't bring roses.
Tremendous. Why can't that's hilarious.
Just leave it off as that.
Jason does not run the Dumb Marks Pod Twitter account, but you can hit him up in the DMs.
Nope. I say follow me ad, didn't you just cut me off?
All right. So with that being said, leave off the show, close the show with the quote of the week here. I had a couple this week, not really sure. Oh, one more thing before I forget to go. Shout out to Steve Breston and the Steve Breston Foundation. They had their ribbon cutting ceremony for the park that they built in the North Braddock community. So kudos to you guys right down the street from Jason there. Shout out to him. Obviously, really good man, individual. Family's awesome. I known him since I was in like fourth grade. Tremendous. Giving back to the community like he always does. Doesn't do it for the recognition or the perks. Just gives back because he wants to give back. And really good to see that the people out there still doing stuff to help bring safe places for the kids in our communities to go and interact and have fun and enjoy themselves. So yeah, kudos to them there. So
I've lived
shout
here
out.
38 years. This is the first time we've had a park.
Yeah. So,
Awesome.
All right. So with that being said, I'll go ahead and read this week's quote of the week to finish up the show. It says, "Finish each day and be done with it. You have done what you could. Some blunders and absurdities no doubt crept in. Forget them as soon as you can. Tomorrow is a new day."
So I walk out of work.
And with that being said, thanks for tuning in to this week's show. We appreciate you guys. Love you guys. Hit us up on social media. And until next time, I'm a Mark, you're a Mark, tell a Mark, and y'all can catch us around the way.